Are we live? 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 Let me check and see. Yes, we are live. So, hi everyone. My name is Nicki D Poet. I'm nothing but a former shy girl who found her voice through poetry and now uses poetry to help others find their voice. Basically, what that means is I use my childhood experiences, I use my faith based interactions, as well as my 50 Reads of the Single Mother, just to basically paint this picture of self love, endurance, and confidence, right? And tonight we're here to talk about duality. We're here in self love. We're here to talk about the ugly part of self love. So, like, for normal fashion with all my lives, I'm going to start off with a piece, and this piece is in my third book, I believe. Yes, my third book called The Shy Girl Speaks, called Who Am I? Who am I? But a mere girl caught in between two identities. So we're in between who they want me to be and who I long to be. There is me. Me. Always known for following the rules. Now I wait to be told what to do and what to say. Honestly, most days I just feel like a rented Airbnb. Allow others to rent space in my head and a price that's far too cheap, and then they have the nerve to leave. The stench of they foul aura all over my prefrontal cortex, and it doesn't matter how much I try to cleanse my chakras. It doesn't matter how much sage I burn. I never seem to forget the sting of their words that leave just enough venom that it becomes encrypted into my very DNA. No wonder I'm sitting up here questioning who I am today. And I decided to do this piece to open this conversation because that's a poem called Who Am I? It's basically a poem where the point in my life where I wrote this poem was like I would consider like my breaking point where I was so weighed down by the opinions of other and the box that they put me in that when it came time to start my self-love journey, I had to start by literally stripping down and removing myself from everything that society put on me, everything the box that hit my friends and family put me in. And I have this idea. I keep talking about this box because now I feel like the exact same thing is happening. Um, Oftentimes we put these artists, these poets, these songwriters in boxes. And we know them from one thing, we know them from one category, and then when they stray from that category, or when they stray from that category, it's like, oh my God, you're known for this one thing. Now this is completely different, and some people shy away from that, and some people like stop following the artist because of that. And I don't think that is necessarily the right thing to do. We talk about cancel culture. We're so quick to cancel these celebrities for, or just people in general, because I'm not comparing myself to a celebrity. I did not. I'm not a celebrity, so we can just make that be known right then and there. But we put these people that have platforms on this pedestal and not giving them the grace to be human, not giving them the grace to express their human like qualities through their art. I'm saying that to say because yesterday I put up a piece that was a slam piece, and I'm like stretching my pen. I'm always challenging myself with my art. And if anyone can know me, know my poetry, you know that I'm not a slam poet. You know that I am a self-love poet. But just because majority of my repertoire is self-love, that doesn't mean that I don't and will not dabble in other areas. So like I said, I feel like it's very important to to always challenge yourself to push your pen, and it doesn't necessarily mean that um you're changing or rebranding, you're not really sure of who you are, because a lot of people think that just because you trust yourself or express yourself artistically doesn't mean that means that you're shying away from who you are. You're shying away from your message, right? And we want to talk about bringing it back, because you all know that I'm a self-love poet, and we want to talk about self-love. A lot of people have this misconception of self-love in their head. They think self-love is about, I love myself, I'm so content all the time. We social media and the media have put this image of self-love as being me taking a day off, like basically ignoring all my responsibilities, me getting mani pedis, me doing yoga, me meditating, which yes, self-love can be all those things, but self-love is actually doing the nitty and gritty, is actually facing your past. But another important aspect of self love is actually setting boundaries and establishing boundaries, and also letting people know when they cross the line, letting people know where they got you fucked up. And you can let people know exactly what you got, how they got you fucked up, and how they made you feel, and stay on your ground without it necessarily being, oh, I'm not doing self-love, or I'm trying to tear someone down. And I think that's the problem. Society for so long, society have made women believe, and majority Black women believe, that anytime they stick up for themselves, anytime they use their voice, that it's necessarily them being angry, is them demeaning demeaning the next person, right? Or is you going on this power trip because, like, you need to be, for some reason, we want people to be humble so bad. We love giving people flowers when they're sick. We love giving people flowers when they're dead. We love giving people their congratulations, and we love hyping people up when they're no longer here. But when they're here, when they're actually putting in the work, when they're actually putting the work in, when they're actually seeing the results of their hard work, and then they go to say, wow, I did that. All of a sudden, it's just like, oh my God, she's ego tripping. She needs to be humble. When no, like, I am going to pat myself on the back. I'm going to give myself congratulations, because if nobody's going to do it, because the world is not going to do it for you. People in my circle does it for me. So I'm going to be I'm doing it for myself, and that's a part of self love. That's a part of self love as well. Self love is taking a step back and seeing how far you came. Like, damn, like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, Nicki D the poet didn't exist, and if you would have told me 3 years ago that Nicki D the poet would be this thing, I would have looked at you like you stupid. So when you see me posting like, yes, I am a published author, yes, I have 5 books, because y'all don't know that the blood, the tears, everything, the whole journey and what to get to this level, the whole journey and what to in those books, and to the fact that I have people who consider me a mentor, when some people who consider me a mentor has been performing longer than me, has been building their brands longer than me, but they think that I am worthy enough, to learn to learn from. I'm worthy enough for them to learn from. And for me, that's a big deal. Even how far alone I came in this whole self love journey, that's a big deal. So I don't want people to ever be afraid to giving themselves flowers for fear of, like, you have the big head. And I feel as though that whole mentality, oh, you need to be humble. Oh, you need to remember where you came from. Oh, you're getting a big head. That's problematic, not only in the Black community, but that's problematic across every race. Because at the end of the day, if one of us comes up, if one of us comes up, if one of us make it, if one of them has the blueprint, like they're going to share that with somebody who's going to share that with somebody who's going to share that with somebody, especially if they're doing something that's pouring into the community. Like literally everything I learned, I am willing to share. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not sharing this information for free because I think it's very important if you invest in yourself. And as society, we have put such a whole large value of money. So I know that if you invest, you're going to really take this information, because there's been plenty of times that I poured into people for free and they just took the information and then it didn't really use it. Right? So it's able to really pass that on to the next generation is what's going to keep you going. And don't be afraid to give yourself flowers. And another issue that I wanted to touch on in this live was how growing up as a Black girl, and I talked about this a little bit in my book, Shy Girl Speaks, that always someone telling you how you should dress. There's someone telling you what you should do. Someone telling you what you should say, even down to how you wear your hair, right? And I'm just like, why? We don't give each other the grace to be multiple things. Like, if anybody knows me, they know I'm a poet, right? Nicki D the poet. No, I have apparel, Nicki D apparel. They know I do graphic designs, like what you're seeing right now. I made those graphics by Nicki D. But I also do hair. Like I also do my own hair. I don't do other people's hair, so don't inbox me looking to get your hair done. Do make like there's so much more to me than what meets the eye. And we don't give each other the grace enough to be multiple things at the same time. Like there's this stereotype for Black women: you're either at peace guru that's meditating, doing yoga, or you're the other extreme, meditating, doing yoga on some peaceful shit all the time. Or you're at the other extreme, the angry Black woman that always got a gripe to pick with everybody. When in reality, there are some days where I'm meditating, I'm zen, I'm down to earth. Nothing can really F up my mood. And then there's some other days when I'm easily irritable, and then there's some days where it's like, listen, I'm from Philly, so it's gonna be a fuck out of here dickhead type of mood, fuck out of here dickhead type of day. One or the other doesn't make, like, one is not better than the other, right? And the two can coexist, right? So the two can coexist. Like, I don't have to be peaceful all the time. I don't have to be happy-go-lucky all the time, because that's not human. Nobody on this earth is happy-go-lucky all the time. Like, Jesus had some rough days on this earth. And some days he's like, Father, if it be your will to take this cup, I won't be mad at you. Like, he has some rough days on this earth. So if Jesus can have some rough day on this earth, why wouldn't I? Why am I not giving myself the grace? Or why is we live in a society that can't give any other human being the grace to be human? And I feel like it's very important for me in my poetry to be realistic. So that's why if you ever read my books, and I do have books available on Nicki D the Poet .org. I did drop a book at the end of last month called Crown, so you guys should definitely go check that out. But what I like to do with my books is I like to tell a story. And right now I'm doing research because I am going to publish. I am in the process of publishing a children's book. And what So I'm taking classes and stuff like that. So what they tell you that the part of a story is conflict. If you're watching a movie and there's never, hey V, y'all go check her out. She makes the dopest and the cutest little custom stuff. I wish I had. Oh, I do. This beer right here, she made it. It is so cute. But the way we're drawn into stories are conflict, right? If we watch a story or we watching a show and it's like it's happy all the time, there's no conflict, we're not going to watch it, because like who wants to sit there and watch a 30-minute show where everybody is happy-go-lucky all the time, they never have any problems, they had never had any obstacles to overcome. And we talk so much, like we have so many trigger words in society. We talk about being generational curse breakers. We talk about overcoming. We use all these trigger words in the beginning of the year, but you don't realize that in order to be a generational curse breaker, your curses do not break easily, right? Curses do not break. Curses do not break easily, because if it can break easily, it wouldn't be a curse. If it could break easily, it wouldn't be bad. It wouldn't bound you generation after generation after generation. If it came easy, everybody will be doing it. So I say that to say that sometimes with breaking these generational curses, you feel the pressure of all those generations that had to carry this. You feel it on your back. That does not feel good. You're not going to be happy-go-lucky all the time. But it is those moments that are tough. It is those moments you're like, I don't know if I'm going to make it. It is those moments when you're at the brink of giving up that causes you to grow as a human being. And if I'm going to be a poet, if I'm going to be a poet, and a poet is one who I believe document the human experience. So when somebody reads my poetry years from now or discover my book years from now, they have an idea of what the human experience was like for me during this time, the time that I've been alive. And we're still in the pandemic. We're getting a little bit closer to the other side. So if I wrote a book where there's no conflict, everything was peachy and creamy in 2020. Like, I did not mention the pandemic at all. And people going to be looking at me like, what 2020 did you live in? Because the 2020 I lived in, people were getting sick, people were dying, the economy was affected. That's not realistic. So what I like to do in my poetry books, if you read my poetry book, there is going to be some, you're going to have your poetry, your poem about love. You're going to have your poems about Black power and the Black experience. You're going to have your poems about being a single mom. You're going to have your poems about niggas ain't shit, because sometimes niggas ain't shit and sometimes I ain't shit right along with them. So you gonna have those type of relationship poems. You're gonna have poems of me telling people, hey, don't fuck with me because I'm self-love. I'm all about self-love in my hill, but I'm still from Philly. So it's still gonna be fuck out of here dickhead at the end of the day. Because all those things makes up Nicki D the poet. All those things makes up me as a whole. And while I'm talking about my poetry book, I'm so excited for this book, Crown, and I'm actually dropping the details about my in-person book release brunch tomorrow. So be on the lookout about that for that flyer. And let me just play the little preview since we're talking about my book, Crown. we're back. And so this book is all about purpose. It's all about the journey you go on to find your purpose, and how sometimes in order to find your purpose, in order to walk in your purpose, you have to put aside everything you have to put aside a lot of stuff that you learned growing up. And I feel as though I'm very soon closing up on the end of my 20s. I know it's like really sad admitting that out loud for me, but your 20s are hard because you're in this transitional period. You have everything you want, everything you learned from your childhood, and now you're trying to figure out how to apply those lessons to the real world, to an adult, to see how you fit into society as a civilized adult. And sometimes you realize that some of the stuff that your mama taught you, or your grandmama taught you, or your parents taught you, just ain't cutting it. Like you literally have to maneuver the good and the bad, right? It's like cooking. You can't follow everybody's recipe. You have good recipes and you have bad recipes, or the more and more you cook, even if you're using the same recipe and the same ingredients, you realize that certain techniques are better than others. You realize the more and more experienced you become, like you realize that if I do it this way, my grandmama did it this way, but if I tweak it this way, it might be better for me. Not necessarily saying that the way your grandmom did it is wrong. Like not necessarily say the way you were brought up is wrong. But every generation is supposed to go forth, get new knowledge, and get new knowledge, and it's supposed to grow better and go farther than the last generation did, because that's the way the world is supposed to work. We cannot tie the next generation down and put them in a box because there's something that I did, that my great grandma did, that her grandma did. When new information comes and that younger generation says, I know you did it like that, grandma, but I got some experience and I realized that this way works better for me. Again, not putting down the older generation, but it's not putting down the older generation, because what worked for the older generation worked for the generation, but what's going to work for my generation may not be the same way that generation got it. And I feel like we see this issue with this generational gap across everything, majority in our churches, right? And we see churches that find ways to reach the new generation, and we see those churches grow and flourish. And then we see other churches that don't want to, that are stuck in the traditional way of doing stuff, that's stuck in the old time way. Not saying the old time way is bad, because to this day I love me a good church hymn. I ain't gonna hold you. Something about those church hymns that really hit the core of my spirit. But I also know that that's me, right? And literally, what I need, the way I see Jesus may not be the same for another person. And it's not bringing outside stuff in the world, because I am completely against that. And it is some churches that's doing that, but that's a topic for another day. But I said that to say that each generation goes farther, they expand, they spread their wings, and goes beyond what the next generation can handle, and that's passing the torch. And that's exactly how society is supposed to work, how society expands, and how we move forward as a society, as people. Yeah, how we move forward as a society, as people. And if we stay in our old ways, we will never move forward in society. It just isn't going to happen. But anyway, thank you guys so much for rocking with me. And shout out to this t-shirt. Shout out to everyone who knows the poem this stanza is from. Is a part of my empowerment collection of Nicki D Apparel. If you do not know, if you aren't aware, I do have an apparel line called Nicki D Apparel, where sometimes I put, again, my poetry on t-shirts. We have the Broken Crayon collection as well as the Shy Girl Speaks collection. So I'm just going to play that little commercial. And I'll pray you guys enjoy the rest of your night. Feel free to follow me on all social media website at Nicki D the Poet. Who knows her mission and fulfills her mission, no matter what it may look like to others, no matter what society says about it, no matter who looks at her cross-eyed, no matter what doubters say in her head, no matter what the views look like, no matter what the comments looks like. A former shy girl is someone who I consider her like the caged bird who's been free, right? Someone who's been so bound and weighed down with the opinions of others for so long that when now that she knows who she is, now that she went through this whole self-love journey, now that she is sure of herself, now that she knows her mission, she doesn't let anyone or anybody stop her.